What's up, folks? Welcome back to Stream Catchers. It is episode 10, Jack, if you can believe it. And I am your co-host, AB.
Hello there. I'm Jack. What's up?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Excited to talk about the episode. How are you?
Doing well. I'm excited as well, and pretty cool that it's our 10th episode. It feels like we just kind of started
Yeah.
this thing yesterday, but 10 in.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So we've got episode 3 of the Bad Batch on deck, titled Replacements.
Yeah.
Before we hopped on, we sort of agreed that there's 2 stories being told, and we sort of split it up between the 2 of them. So which one did you want to tackle first?
Let's go with the short and sweet Bad Batch story arc first. We find our heroes right after the events of the second episode, where their ship's a little messed up, and they have a crash landing on a moon. I don't think they gave the moon a name.
I thought they did, but I don't think it's really that important.
Okay, it's really not. So they crash land on the moon. They've got to replace a capacitor. It gets stolen by a space beast.
A moon
Hilarity
dragon, that they call
ensues. Yeah, an Ordo moon dragon.
So I guess Ordo would be the name of the moon.
Oh, I guess, yeah, it'd be Ordo. Or maybe the planet. Maybe the planet's Ordo, and this is the Ordo moon.
Yeah, a pretty classic scenario for really the sci-fi space genre, right? Ship
Right.
stranded on a moon or a planet, you got to fix it so you can get back on your way. I mean, if you've seen Empire Strikes Back, you've seen this exact story, really.
That's true.
It's one of those things where it felt like they needed to have something for the batch to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a ship wrecked, and we've got to get our part back, and that's kind of the whole gist of that story.
Right. It's not exactly the meat of the episode, but they do a good. They don't spin their wheels or anything. They do some good character building with Omega and Hunter,
Mm-hmm.
with Wrecker a little bit,
Yeah.
and still holding out for that that tech episode where I start to care about tech.
Same, him and Echo. I feel it feels like they're just kind of there because they have to be, just sort of to
Mm-hmm.
complete the team. You need a tech guy, and you need the sort of I don't want to call Echo a wild card. I don't really know what you would call
He
him.
is, though, really.
Yeah, he kind of is,
Yeah.
right? Because he there are some tech aspects to him, and he has the background of being a reg clone trooper.
Mhm.
I'm with you though. We're only 3 episodes in, so I'm gonna stay patient. But I'm waiting for some more development for those 2 guys.
Yeah. So the opening, I mean, not the opening lines of dialogue, but right away they start to talk about the inhibitor chips, which I remember we were talking about last time, if they were going to leave that alone or keep diving into that. And they talk a little bit about how they think Crosshair may be over manipulated, which they're right on the money with that. And Hunter, steps up and says, is feeling guilty about leaving Crosshairs behind.
Yeah, so they're hinting a little bit at potentially trying to save him, and going that whole route, and that's something that we can look forward to maybe within the next few episodes, or maybe as we get deeper into the show. But a good spot on both of us last week to bring that up. That there's something to that, and this isn't Crosshair just being a jerk. He's being forced to do what he's doing, and
Yeah.
there was even a spot in this episode where they showed the Empire, I guess, rejuicing him, or however you want to phrase it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I know we're not really on that storyline yet, but conducting further experiments. Do you think they're making him worse, or what do you think they're doing with that?
Yeah, again, I don't want to dive too far into that side of the story yet. But you did see some attitude from him, and an apathy towards really anything else besides himself and his mission, and being as compliant as the Empire wants him to be.
Yeah.
So it definitely feels like they're continuing to pump whatever they want into him so that he maintains that compliance.
Yeah, I'll be interested in seeing if he, I don't want to say grows, because that, it's the opposite of grows. If he shows, less and less compassion in the future.
Yeah, I think we could see that. I think that could be a bit of a turmoil, and I also think that maybe it could be a side of him where he maybe goes back and forth a little bit, where he starts to sort of pull away from what they want him to do, and then they continue to pump their empire propaganda into him, and however that is scientifically, I don't know, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Sorry, I totally got us sidetracked on
sure, no, that's all right. That's
on
okay.
what we want
That's
to
all right.
what we want to talk about later. But going back to the Bad Batch, after their crash landed in there, they've decided they're gonna scout for the capacitor. Wrecker has bumped his head on the crash landing, so he's gonna stay with the ship. And then they divide into teams of two. They've got Tech and Echo, who don't really play a role in the mission, and then there's Hunter and Omega, which of course Omega is going to be overjoyed about
Oh yeah,
that, because she wants to be a member of the team so bad. And
wants to prove herself.
yeah, exactly. And she does a good job. She's the one who's ultimately successful in the mission. She is the one who gets the capacitor back. But before that, we see, I think it's the first part of Hunter and Omega's story, where Omega is watching Hunter track the dragon, and she's super curious, because that's her jam. She's
Yeah,
like, "What are you doing? How are you doing that? Can I learn that?" Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a fun interaction. We get to see more of that relationship really develop, and we see, who Omega is. It feels like Omega is like the focus of the show so far, which I wasn't
Hmm.
expecting. Not that I'm upset about that, but you get to see that she's a very curious and intuitive character, and Hunter gets subdued by this moon dragon, and she has to sort of go off and do her own thing, and takes his blaster and goes underground and runs into this moon dragon, gets the part back, and Hunter's like, wow, okay, you did it, you proved yourself, and it was just one of those a strong character moment for Omega, and I think that we're going to continue to see more of that throughout the show.
Yeah, and she tries to be a part of the team. She tries to help Hunter. He gets his mask knocked off, and she puts the mask back on him, calls out for help, and I guess they didn't get the signal, or
Yeah, I
because
don't think
because
so. 'Cause,
there was a part where she radios for help and doesn't get anything in return. But she puts the mask on him, sees that he's breathing, and then goes into the dragon lair or den, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
to get the capacitor back.
yeah, does the job and shows that she's part of the team and not just along for the ride. She can contribute and she can help do whatever they need her to do. And you get other character moments, but she and Wrecker are another pairing that you're getting to see a little bit of personality from Wrecker. There's a bit of a connection there in maybe like a fun, goofy uncle sort of way. And
Yeah,
the episode starts out, she's laying on the ground while he's up in his bed or his quarters, however you want to put that. And then it ends with, while she was away getting the capacitor, he puts up a whole section for her that she has her own space to sleep in and kind of go off and do her own thing. And another point of signifying that she's part of the team, she's part of the crew, and she's just as important as they are.
yeah. She they have their meal, they have their rations. Hunter feeds everybody, and he gives Wrecker his bit of food, and he says, "All right, hit me again, I'm hungry." And he's a big dude, he's
Yeah,
got to go through some calories. And Omega offers him hers, and Hunter says, she doesn't even have a place to sleep, like, let
yeah,
alone food. Leave her alone, just let her have her food. And he's like, "Oh yeah, oh sorry."
yeah,
And while they're away on mission, yeah, he decides to make her a little place to stay, a little ladder leading up to a private little bedroom. And she says she's never had a bedroom before,
yeah,
which is insane for a 10-year-old
right.
to never experience that kind of kind of a happy solitude. Get to be on your own and independent like that.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it was a really cool moment. I really am digging the, I guess, pairing of Wrecker and Omega as the fun uncle, sort of big brother type that she hasn't really had. I mean, obviously, you look at Hunter, and that's more of the father figure. Um,
Right.
and so it's weird, because we have these two sort of relationships that are forming and growing, and then again, you have Echo and Tech just kind of like, oh, there's a kid here, and they're doing their own thing. we talked about it. We'll give them time. It's only 3 episodes in, but I would like to see them interact with her a little bit more too, and see how that develops. And maybe Echo is like, I don't want this kid around. I don't. This isn't what we need, you know. And then maybe there's a bit of a headbutting there for some further character development. But I would like to see more from those 2 characters. I want them to make me care about them more.
It definitely feels like they've been benched these 3 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, it's early. There's a lot of time. And the next episode potentially could.
This season's got a lot of episodes, you know? Yeah. So.
But that was it, really, for the Bad Batch. I mean, again, it felt like they just kind of had to have something to do, and they wanted to give Omega a character moment and really further solidify her. But that was kind of it for our heroes. But on the other side, our antagonists of the show.
Yeah.
We have Grand Admiral Tarkin is it Grand Admiral? It's Grand Moff Tarkin, right?
It's Grand Moff Tarkin eventually. I don't know where he's at in his military career right now.
Old man Tarkin is on Kamino with the clones, and they have their first recruits of what will eventually at some point become stormtroopers, but they want to send them off on a mission with Crosshair and see what they're able to accomplish as opposed to the clones.
Yeah, they didn't get names, but in the subtitles they were credited as ES-01020304. Okay. So I guess ES probably being Elite Squad, which is, I believe, what Admiral Rampart referred to them as, who is also a new character as far as I know.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with him either, but at the end of the episode, Tarkin calls him Admiral. So I mean, it seems like he's going to play a role moving forward as well.
Yeah.
But the whole point was we got to send these guys off to find Saw Gerrera and deal with him and his camp of refugees one way or another, squash that and see what these recruits can do as opposed to clones. They kind of get right to the point. They get right to the area, and Crosshair has a bit of clashing with these recruits. You know,
yeah, specifically with the one who was named in the credits, ES-01, who was kind of the contrarian to Crosshair. He didn't care for the clone, didn't know why he was leading the mission, and kind of questioned his orders on Onderon and during their mission.
Yeah. They on the way to Onderon, he's like, I don't know why you're in charge, and there's even a point where he seems pretty down with the Empire. He's like, the Empire, you know, they're giving me food and shelter and a job, and that's more than the Republic gave me. And I think you're going to see. I think that's going to be sort of the reasoning why they are able to get so many recruits is because they're offering something the Republic didn't offer, and that was sort of his whole reasoning for why he was kind of there.
So I guess then. Maybe this is diving into something we don't really need to talk about because
might as well.
Let's dive down the rabbit hole. Okay, so Tarkin's goal with the clone, he wants to phase out the clones, I guess, to save money. I don't know if that's his real goal, but that's kind of what he's stated in this show. And it sounds like they are paying the
Kaminoans.
Right, they're paying the Kaminoans for the clones. I don't know what they're providing for the clones for this work, or if they just do the work because that's what they do. Good soldiers follow orders. I don't know. But it sounds like they're going to pay the soldiers who are eventually going to become stormtroopers and house them and feed them and everything. So, I mean, do you think it's cheaper for regular soldiers than clones?
Well, I guess that's his whole reasoning in the show, at least. I couldn't give you a rundown of the costs. I don't really
that's what
But he uses the line that they are cost prohibitive relics of the past is kind of how he describes clones. And so I guess we are just to assume that they pay the Kaminoans a hefty sum of money to produce these clones. And when you think about it, you've mentioned this in the past, clones have a shorter lifespan, so you have to constantly churn them out.
Right.
The benefit is that they're supposed to be super compliant and efficient, but if you could pay less for equal-ish value, why wouldn't you? And you also get the loyalty of someone like the guy that was, the Empire's willing to give me food and shelter, and that's that's all I need. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't.
and if it weren't for the loyalty, it would be for the fear, right? I mean,
Yeah,
eventually, I mean, people are going to be terrified of the Empire
exactly. So
because of stuff that we see in this episode where we have innocent people being killed by
yeah, they
the
arrive to
Empire.
the camp in Onderon, and Saw is gone by that point, but there is a group of refugees left over that are trying to get out of there. And I mean, it was actually a pretty brutal scene when you really think about it for an animated show. And then one of the guys has a flamethrower, and they're showing Crosshair snipes the guy through the I guess windshield of the ship, and then you have, man, probably what would you say, 7 or 8 different refugees that are or
Yeah, just a few of them.
that are just like, we don't know where Saw is. He shoots one of them point blanks, like, I believe you. And then Crosshair wants to terminate all of them. The same guy that was grateful for the Empire says, no, we're soldiers. We're not exterminators. This isn't what we're here for. We should take them in. Crosshair, he's like, screw that. Ices the one guy and then tells the remaining recruits to finish them off, and they do. They slaughter them, the
Yeah,
women and the children too.
like animals. Yeah, a really dark tone for an animated show. I won't say it's a kids show, but
Right.
it, when you're watching something animated, that's not like Family Guy, Futurama, something like that, that's aimed towards adults. It feels out of place to see a scene like this. So,
Yeah.
even though everything happens off camera and you don't actually see the slaughtering of innocents, it's a really dark idea for a show like this.
Yeah, well, and you do see the snipe through the windshield that goes right into his heart, and so I mean they do show that, and
That's
they
true.
do show some I don't know what you call them, bullets, but I guess what would you call it?
Blaster fire. Yeah, I don't
Blaster
know.
fire, right? Yeah, they showed that impacting bodies as well. So yeah, I mean it was. I agree. This isn't necessarily a kids show in the way that Dora the Explorer is, but
Yeah,
it has an eye towards kids. I think, especially with adding Omega to the group.
sure.
It's made with the intention to be for all audiences, or maybe at least ages 8 and above, I would say, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, dark moments, and it shows, to kind of echo what we were talking about with Crosshair earlier. He's been brainwashed to be full on Empire at this point, and he even made the statement, "Good soldiers follow orders."
Yeah, which is taken a darker and darker meaning every time it's said in
Very
the
much,
Star Wars saga.
very much, very much.
So our new elite soldiers get back to Kamino, and I guess they've taken over the barracks of the Bad Batch, because they enter, and Crosshair kind of looks over at the hash marks that Wrecker kept track of the missions on, and he goes over to his bed, sets his sniper down and kind of reflects a little bit on what he's done. I think we're supposed to see just a little bit of remorse, but he doesn't really show it a whole lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something they tease a little bit too, where he's not necessarily, like you said, he's not showing remorse, but there's a little look on his
Mm-hmm.
face that I think will, in time, maybe become remorse, as there's still the struggle of who he is inherently as a member of the Bad Batch and who the Empire wants him to be in this
Right.
cold-blooded killing member of the Empire that follows orders.
Maybe it's not so much remorse, but just kind of missing his brothers, missing his
Yeah.
old squad, that he got on with way better than these new guys.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think that's a story that we'll have to watch and see how that develops. And I don't know. I kind of feel like we're going to get through this season, and Crosshair might not make it.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I guess I just don't see I don't see him being redeemed. I don't know. I feel like we're going to see the version of him we saw in this episode dive further and further into those dark areas. And I think that remorse will set in. And I think that they're going to get to a point where they can't save him and the inhibitor and get the inhibitor chip out. I think it's going to end up being a situation where maybe they have to do what they have to
It'll
do.
forever dominate his destiny.
Maybe, yeah. So I could be wrong. That's a very dark approach to take.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would I disagree. I think that we'll see a redemption arc for him. I think that it would be interesting if we got both. If we got the redemption arc and also he was killed by the Empire, even after they save him or something like that.
That's probably more likely. Vader
Yeah,
out,
I don't know. Yeah,
redeemed to
yeah, yeah,
death.
yeah. Yeah, high drama, high intensity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one way or another, I don't think he makes it though. I think we'll see. I
Yeah.
just don't
Well, either
see.
way. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I just don't see it going to where it's gonna be all the 5 batch and Omega off doing I don't know. I don't see
Yeah.
it
Well,
that
they
way.
already didn't really have space for Omega, so how are they gonna? I mean, they're gonna need a bigger ship eventually.
Right, right. Unless they kill off Tech or Echo and then bring Crosshair in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's less. I feel like it's less likely that they would kill one of the good guys before they kill Crosshair.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So
Um,
either way, when they get back, Tarkin's impressed that these soldiers, completed the mission that the Bad Batch couldn't, and it gets the Kaminoans talking because they want to make their money. They want to make more clones, and they tease a little bit. And I want to ask you about this because what they talk about is a little bit subjective.
yeah.
They talk about the next phase of the clones. There's a line along the lines of superior clones can be made, but they need. Is it members of the Bad Batch that they need? I couldn't really decide what she was talking about.
I think that was implied. At least that's how I interpreted it, where they
See that?
needed something and it was implied that it was the batch, I think.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it too. But they have Crosshair, so maybe they're talking about Omega specifically.
Probably. And of course, one of them knows, right, that they helped Omega go, but the other one is out of the doesn't know that, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Nala say the female Kaminoan let Omega go,
Yes.
and the male Kaminoan, whose name I cannot remember, is kind of in the dark about that. I forgot about that.
Exactly. So maybe they're talking about the batch, but I think at this point the dude knows that she's gone, right? So I don't think he knows that she let her go, but
Yeah.
I do think that there is something to they may have to seek out the batch for their help on maintaining clones for their own use. But we are definitely on the path to going from clones to stormtroopers. They
Sure.
even started to tweak the uniform a bit. The recruits were in black. They still had the clone look, but they I think Crosshairs was the stormtrooper look, or it was at least different than the other guys.
I'd have to go back and check that out. I did notice that Crosshairs was different than the other soldiers, but I guess I didn't mentally compare it to the stormtrooper look.
It might not have been the true storm, but yeah. And so we're going to see this story sort of unfold. And I think by the end of this show or season, whatever they're doing, I don't know if they're going to do just the one season or if they're going to do multiple. But I think at some point we are going to see the clones cease to be employed by the Empire. We're going to see stormtroopers for sure.
Yep, I agree. And I think it'll be a good plot device to have Crosshair and Tarkin's resources being hunting rather Omega, and the Bad Batch trying to protect her.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think that'll set up for some good episodes.
I think so too. I think we're still early in the show. We're still trying to establish relationships and really establish what the show really is.
Yeah.
I do think that as we start to get thicker into it, 6, 7, 8 episodes in, I think it's gonna be a really enjoyable show.
Yeah. So what'd you think overall? I guess we didn't really talk about that from the top. Compare it to episodes 1 and 2.
It was okay. I don't feel like this is an episode you need to go out of your way to see. I think that the batch side, especially, I sort of hinted at. It's not anything that you probably haven't seen before. It does give Omega and Hunter and even Wrecker some character moments that help develop those characters further. But it's a very simple, straightforward story. Felt like they just had to have something to do. The Empire side of it, though, definitely felt like it's building towards the bigger story that will unfold throughout the rest of the show. I said it last week. I think the show is better as a binge versus a week-to-week thing. It was enjoyable, but I don't want to say I loved the show. It was just kind of okay. I felt satisfied when it was over. It was like, all right, cool.
Right. I think, waiting week to week kind of creates an expectation that this episode and even the one before it didn't super, super deliver on, which is okay. I mean, I'm still in it. I'm still a fan of the show. But even, comparing the three episodes, I would put this on the, on the level of the second one. Whereas, the first one really stood out to me. There was a lot of dramatic scenes, a lot of good storytelling, whereas this one is mostly just kind of fine tuning some characters, and there's a little bit of, there is some high drama with the elite soldiers and the killing of the civilians and everything, but nothing groundbreaking or new or anything to write home about.
I agree. I agree. That's kind of really the gist of it. Decent episode. It was fine. The first episode, it had the benefit of being an hour and like 15 minutes.
Right.
Right. So you were able to actually let it breathe, and you get more to it, and they're a bigger story to tell. That's not what they're going for in this show, right? They're not trying to be Mandalorian. They're trying to just make an entertaining show in the same light that Clone Wars and Rebels were.
Right.
It's doing that very well. If you like those shows, you will like this one too. I don't know that I would say this is a show for everybody. If you're more of a casual Star Wars fan, I don't know that you need to go out of your way to see this. But if you do love Star Wars, it's good content. It's well written. The animation is strong, and I think that again, as the show develops and moves on, by the time it's over, I think we'll look back and say this is really good. I'm really glad that I watched it.
I agree. I think that the end of this season is going to wrap up in a way that is maybe not as jaw dropping as the endings of the 2 seasons of Mandalorian, but definitely something that's really, really satisfying.
Yes.
I'm excited to get there.
Definitely, same. So that's really, I guess, all we have.
That's all I've got.
But thanks if you tuned in. We appreciate it. Links to social media and all that's in the show notes. Twitter, Instagram. We're on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Google, all of them. If you could leave us, 5-star on YouTube, or they don't do 5 stars on YouTube anymore. But if on iTunes, if you can give us a like and leave a comment what you thought on the show, and any last thoughts, Jack?
No, that's it. Yeah, I am excited to talk to you and the listeners next week. Catch you later.
See you, folks.